Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Overshot. We got a very special guest here, Josh from J4 Paintball. We got Travis still in here, but really quick, we want to shout out to all the sponsors. Picked up a couple new ones. The podcast is gaining some traction, so definitely share it up, like it, review it. But first comes first is this podcast is sponsored by three great businessmen by the name of Scott Astuto, Gianni Perez, and James Belvedere. These bowlers were born and raised in the concrete jungle. They began their journey at the age of 13, playing at an NYC Paintball. Currently, they play for 88 Squad, who has a phenomenal reputation around the tournament world. And now these bowlers are doing something great. They're giving back. They're living the entrepreneurial dream, and they just want to teach you guys about financial freedom. And we know that paintball is an expensive sport. It's time consuming and everything like that. So they're just looking to give back. You can definitely show them love below at G and then 3 underscores IANNI. Also Scott at Slump Life Co. and James at underscore James the Champion. So definitely reach on out to them, show them support on Instagram about anything from foreign exchange, cryptocurrency, e-commerce. Learn to invest your money so that money can then in turn go back to you. So definitely reach out to them. Say that we sent you. These guys are killing the game in the crypto world. So definitely reach on out to them. Big love to those three guys. They're ballers. They're just trying to give back to the community that's helped them so much. So the next big sponsor, our home field, me and Travis's home field, Cousins Paintball, with 4 locations in the tri-state area. You have Cousins Long Island, Cousins Staten Island, Cousins Upstate New York, Cousins New Jersey. They also have a retail store in Deer Park, and they also have shopcousinspaintball.com. So definitely go on out. Give them some support your local field, get out there. All you local listeners, definitely head over to Cousins. Let them know that we sent you. Let them know that you listen to the podcast, you love the podcast, and it's just going to help out everybody in turn. They also have a location in Dallas, Texas. So if you're in the Texas area, that market, reach on out to them and let them know that we sent you. The guys from Overshot, Waldo and Travis and the boys, just let them know. Play paintball, live it up. And the last sponsor is our special guest here, Josh from J4 Paintball, makers of the Torque Marker. He's got some other surprises for us. We are happy to have him, happy to have reached out to him today and learn about his company because, again, our podcast is for everything paintball, not just the big guys, not just the small guys. We want to hear everybody's story. So, Josh, kind of just how we start into this. Usually how you started playing paintball, but my first question more so would be, how did the company start? And we'll just kind of go down that rabbit hole and we'll take it where it takes us.
That works. Let's see. Boy, I started playing in '91 in a little town called Kenai, Alaska. And friends invited me down to the beach. I didn't know anything. I begged to play. This is the mistakes you make when you're a newbie. I begged to play with the Splatmaster Rapide because I thought it was cooler than the pump guns that everybody else was using. You know, they had all these KPs and stuff like this, PMI ones, and I'm like, I want that one. And it was horrible. I think I got 3 balls out of the gun. It was really bad. Played in some rocks, and we had I think a whopping 400 rounds the first day for 8 of us, and then 200 the second day to play with. After that, we had 20 acres. I mean, we had no idea what we were doing. And ran around there, and I had to say, I was just sitting there just playing. I was like, I'm going to do something. I'm going to invent paintball something. I'm going to make something for paintball. I knew that like the first day I played. That's what I'm going to do with my life. This is something I'm going to do. So I was really excited about that. Ran a field for a while in the 90s. Partnered with, you may have heard of him, Doc Nickel. He's did a bunch of custom stuff up there. He was like my roommate. We ran the field together, stuff like that. In fact, he built one of the prototypes later. It just kind of stayed in it on and off. Had a couple gun designs, built a prototype for a gun I called the Shiva in the late 90s. The Shiva was really clever. It was a closed bolt spool valve gun. And the bolt was totally independent. So you could just sit there and you could stick your finger in there and just cycle it 50 times a second. The bolt would cycle against your finger and not break paint. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do the Shiva. And then I ended up I was at a tournament in Washington State. And I was hanging out with Rocky and a couple of guys from Diablo. And I still want to know where I had those Diablo shades. Love those things. They said the Ion had sold like 55,000 units in a month. Just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they're starting to show up everywhere on the fields. And I said, how could you come up with something that will be as cheap as an Ion and it can really compete with it and have some of the sameness to it? So I started playing around with the Spider's cheap. Can we do a stack tube spool valve design? And I started working on that that was like 2003, 2004. When did the Ion come out? Sometime around then.
Yeah, right around.
Yeah,
then.
right around then. Yep.
And then so I started building some pre-production prototypes after I'd done a bunch of CAD, and then I was going to bring one of the prototypes I didn't have right here. Then I had, speaking of Doc Nickel, I had him build this. This is the Mule, and I love this thing. It's actually quite a bit shorter than the Torque. Here's a Torque to give you an idea. It's a chunk smaller and tighter and leaner. It's actually really heavy though. And this thing just shot up everything, but it's a full mech gun. It just has an MSV2, just like a lot of the new mag conversions and stuff like that. And that's kind of where we got started. And I was testing and playing around with this, and a buddy of mine said, "Well, hey, let's make a business out of this." And so I said, "That's a good idea." And he goes, "Well, when should we do it?" And I said, "Why wait?"
Yeah, right now.
Yeah. At the time though, I had kid number 5 had just been born, and my wife is a little paranoid. We were in Corpus Christi, Texas, and
you got some strong swimmers, my friend.
But the biggest problem really was we didn't know enough about manufacturing. There's a lot about manufacturing that you just don't learn or know unless you put it on somebody else's shoulders. And we did a lot of that. We put it on somebody else's shoulders to do. And I think that was a small problem because we really didn't have the knowledge enough to go, hey, we know everything, we can figure this out, and we leaned on them to do it, and they kind of dropped the ball in some cases. They gave us unreasonable timelines, and we planned around those, and we didn't have quite enough time doing some QC stuff. We were supposed to get stuff that was done, finished, QC'd, and it never was done on their part. So we ended up a bunch of anodized parts that had some problems. One of the big problems we had was the bolt. It was supposed to be a tolerance fit bolt. So the top was supposed to be reamed and honed and supposed to match the bolt perfectly and have a perfect seal, and it didn't. They made the bolts too small because they dented a little thing in the back. And so all our bolts leaked, like a big hole, like an 1/8 inch hole in the back. I had this really clever system where I cut off the air and a spring brought the piston back. In fact, here's a cutaway body here. Mm-hmm. And I had all these great dynamics going on inside here, and we had to abandon them because we couldn't get the velocity up. We didn't realize it was leaking out the back in such a large hole. So there's a lot of little things like that. The board manufacturer, all his boards would die. We tested them. We got them right before we were supposed to launch, kind of on the schedule he said it'd be. And then he says, "Oh yeah, I put a fuse in there instead of a diode. So if they put the battery in backwards, the board dies."
Whoa.
It was one little tragedy after another. And at the time, Simon was giving me some advice. And of all the people who gave me advice, Simon's was always correct. And he said, it's going to take 2 years. And we tried to do it in a year. It was ridiculous. Yeah. We were super ambitious. But everybody said, yeah, no problem. We'll do it in a couple months. We'll get this done in a couple months. And you only get it done in a few months by skipping a few things that we weren't aware of at the time. So we had some very hard lessons out of that system. Out of that, though, came a lot of knowledge. If we hadn't learned those lessons, we wouldn't be able to go, hey, we're going to a machine shop. Because now I'm smart enough to get a machinist who knows paintball. And he's going to be in here running parts here for us real soon. And he knows finishing, and he knows all the other stuff because he has this really crazy career in NASCAR and NHRA. And when he left the NHRA circuit, just because of politics and related, he was doing full design, manufacturing, machining of NHR cars. In fact, some of the racing cars that won in like 2016, 2017, Summit cars were ones he did most of the work on. So we have
That's
this
awesome.
really kind of crazy background, like, oh, so you can do an intake manifold. And he's like, yeah, I can do 1,200 horsepower naturally aspirated intake manifolds. Okay, we're gonna have to do some fun stuff when we get the shop up. So we've got a lot of experience on that side, and we picked smarter machinists in this case. But we also picked, we also know what we need to build and where things need to go, and we can play around tolerances a bit instead of leaning on somebody else like we did before. So there's a lot. It's a huge story. It's a horrible story. We filmed it, but we had this in the very beginning. We had kind of this tenement to follow Tippmann customer service. Being in Alaska, we didn't want guns that went down. A lot of us bought automatics and Tippmanns because they needed to run. And
Right.
we remember a story years ago. Dennis Tippmann had a gun sent to him, and the wife had finally gotten pissed off about being a paintball widow, and she had taken a hammer to the gun. She sent it to Dennis Tippmann. Dennis Tippmann sent back a new gun. Said, I can't repair this. Sent a new gun, but also sent roses to the wife. And that's customer service you want.
Yeah.
So for the last few years, as we've been struggling, even through a move, through different houses, I've sat, if nothing else, I've set a section aside in my garage in the heat or in the cold. I've worked on people's guns. I haven't been the fastest person to get people equipment, but I've made sure everything that's come into the shop gets fixed, gets sent out, no matter what. I didn't make money for years, and I still took care of the tech. And when I got new components, like came up with the new bolts, O-rings, came up with new ASA parts, and upgraded those guns. We did those upgrades free, and we took those guns in and we paid for the shipping out, and we did that for several years. So we've really decided to stay here no matter what, even if we, in any other case of the industry, the type of screw up we did, to be honest, people left and they just declared bankruptcy and ran, and we didn't. We paid off as many bills as we could along the way, and we just kept on trucking. And so we're still here, and we finally gotten to the point where we're starting to build again, and this time we'll have good QC on our end so that we can have the components come out and fire and act like they should from the beginning.
That's awesome that you kept, sorry to cut you off, but that was awesome that you pushed through, because so many people give up when it's hard. We talk about that a lot in our podcast, like in players and a lot of stuff, that when things start to get hard, like you see people, well, like one of the things we love to dunk on people on is like when they start to climb the ranks and play D3 and D2 more, and it starts to get harder, they tend to take more tournaments off, so they go down to maybe D3 or D4, and it's like, dude, just fucking power through it, bro. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, there's the old adage, you can only make a sword sharper by going against a harder sword.
Right.
You know, you can only get there if you go against and challenge everything. It would have been a lot easier to quit.
Right.
It would have been a lot easier to leave. We probably should have. I mean, by any point of the imagination, I should have just ducked my head, disappeared, bought myself a cocker from Simon, and just played around the edges and don't tell anybody who I was. But we decided.
But
to
hey, people don't get great that way. That's not how greatness is made, man. Greatness is made through perseverance through those hard times.
Well, let's see if we can pull off greatness. We're going to pull off okay right now. I'm very, very happy with okay.
Yeah. But another thing I want to talk about too, because you said you played in Alaska. So what is this scene like in Alaska, especially in the early 90s? Like, I can't imagine it was like too big or popular.
The crazy part, like I said, I ran a field and it actually got pretty busy at times. I mean, we lived in a little town that had 5,000 people in it. The town next to us had 5,000. We have a whole area, the whole Kenai Peninsula, we go play up and down on. And the Kenai has, we just looked this up, it's 3 times the size of Vermont, but it has 55,000 people living on it. Maybe 58,000 people living on it now. I mean, nobody. And back down in the 90s, we probably were looking at 50,000. And we had a little field, but it was fun. And we had people out there on a regular basis. We had people out there who just showed up every weekend. So getting 20 or 40 people a weekend on a little 1.5 acre, 2 acre field was great. And we had a really good attitude. it was a lot about if somebody was too good on the field coming on, most of the time we'd say, sorry, you're going to have to play with a rental today, or you're going to have to do this. And we started seeing as we pushed our players to go down to even pump guns. People who played in the back, shot a lot of paint. You break them down to a tipman or you break them down to a pump gun, and suddenly at the front, yelling at everybody to hurry up and catch up to them. Yeah. It made you play more aggressive. And we really learned a lot in watching how people play and everybody started. The hard part was we had a lot of great talent there. I could name off a dozen players who would have just eaten up the amateur levels. I mean, just super aggressive. We tore through everything that hit us, and there wasn't much of a tournament scene. There wasn't much of a play scene up there, and it was pretty hard. So couldn't go much unless you left state. But imagine flying out of Alaska. It's like being stuck in the countries and then flying all the way down. You fly over Canada to get here.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, we could hit every tournament. And we just were a bunch of bums who spent all our money in paintball and couldn't afford to fly.
Sounds familiar almost, you know? I eventually got to fly.
We were actually joking. We're talking about talking about what would be the good game format to get a lot of players in. And I said, you'd have to set up a system where they can play at their local field like 5 or 6 times in tournaments, and then score a chance to win like a local place. But you'd have to have like 20 local places. And then everybody plays there. And then the winners from that win tickets to fly to the other place for the big tournament. Right. Then you can have a lot of people play. You get a lot of talent in there who are just hiding somewhere in a little field somewhere, and they can just mow people down. But you'll never know it because they can't afford to get anywhere else. If you pay for travel, though, you get everything.
That's a great idea. Like, that's a great idea, I think. I can't believe I've never thought of that. Wow. Like, it makes so much sense because that's what the biggest hard part. I mean, again, not to dunk on the NXL here, obviously, other than the cost of entry to get into an event. But one of the biggest expenses is getting there, getting the plane ticket, your bag, you know.
And most of the circuits actually do plenty well with just the people who can afford to make it there. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of money in the big tournament circuits. And there's a lot of people who come to a World Cup or something like that. So you can justify it. But that's such a small fraction of the number of people who play. And there's a lot of talent, I think, who gets hidden or lost because of that.
Right. I know something that I'm sure Waldo will get into a little bit here, but like one of the things we're trying to bridge the gap on this podcast is we think there's a big cutoff and to like, hey, it's Timmy's birthday. You just played and had a good time. And so now how are you getting to tournaments? Why are you stopping at Timmy's birthday and why are you not coming to the field and playing more rec and trying to take it to the next level?
Yeah. Oh, well, another thing I think we need to look at is some of our real competition is video games.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the destination fields, like my buddy Zach wants me to get out to Zach Arbuckle. Zach, right? He wants to get me out of Fort Knox because I guess it's a destination field.
I heard it's really nice there. Yeah.
So so one of the attitudes of the business is, and one of the things I said to David in the very beginning is, I want this to be. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be good. It has to be big enough that maybe I can leave my day job. It has to be big enough that I can go to events 4 or 5 times a summer. We can go to destination fields. We can have some fun. And we just enjoy paintball, and the business pays for it. I'm fine with the business never being that big. I don't want to be planned. That's a huge responsibility. Jack only gets to come over here once a year. He's busy. That's a busy boy.
Yeah.
We want to be able to have some room to screw around, and not really worry about my budget so much. Just like, okay, just a little extra. We're going. We'll have fun. So our attitude's a little different, but in the end, it's really the format is just I want to enjoy it. I got 20 more years of playing paintball. I want to enjoy it. Go to all the big games. I want to go to Fulda. I want to go back to Legends. I want to go skirmish. I want to hit everything that I never got to hit because I was stuck in Alaska. It's really hard to get.
Yeah, I hear you because I'm trying to I didn't start playing paintball until a lot later in life. So I got to try to hit these pots. Like one of the ones me and him have been talking about. I want to go to Sherwood Forest. I think it's in Indiana.
So the guy from Sherwood Forest has a torque. And so we went up there and he gave us the full tour, everything he's working on. That place is amazing.
I need to go. I need to go.
Yeah.
Been there once. It was great, bro. Great field. And I've only seen better pictures, more work done.
Some of the stuff he has planned, I don't know if you heard, I can't say, but it's cool.
No, dude, I mean, you could what?
You can say if you want.
You could say a little whatever if you want. You know what I mean?
No, it's not my place to say. I'll let you guys see what he's doing.
All right. We'll check it out though. Boy.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to get back up there. And yeah, so the attitude's a little different because we're not looking at this as like, hey, this is how we're gonna make it big. We're like, I just want to be able to play more, And if I don't have to spend the money to go out and catch Sherwood Forest or catch a super game, then I'm happy. That's fine.
Yeah. No, like that's how we kind of look at this too. Like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna make us like millionaires doing this podcast, but if I could go to a couple extra events because we brought in some sponsorship money, that would be fucking awesome.
Well, and if you get to go and you're known for the podcast and you're in the industry is super cool. It's so much fun to break into and go like when we went to Legends, we got VIP passes, we got paint, we got set up, and we walk around and we're like, hey, and we're chatting with the Timmons, and we're chatting with the guys from HK, and we're chatting with. I've chatted with Bob Long. I've sat down and had a beer with Bob Long. I mean, you get that opportunity, and it's so awesome to really. There was one of the PBEs. We sat there with Greg Mueller from the Ironman, and he's telling us these. These are the old original stories that we remember reading in the APGs and stuff like. And we're sitting there with him and a guy from Poland, and we're drinking whiskeys and trading whiskeys back and forth, and trading old school stories. And like, this is one of the best moments of my life.
Yeah.
And that's it. You're in there and you get to do that. It's so much fun. Everybody is so cool. It's just a fantastic industry part of it.
Yeah, no, everyone's been so cool. Like, I mean, I can't say for Waldo because I know we talked to different people, but every single person I've messaged have been on the podcast, whether they've been a pro, whatever, they're like, yeah, man, sure. Like, what time works best for you? Like, it's been awesome. Everyone from like Nick Sloviak to Ryan Greenspan to like all these guys, super, super cool.
Yeah, and it's part of the thing. We're talking about this, and we're actually probably going to let David do some podcasting. David's our sales guy. David has this fantastic background. And I said, I want you to go and collect history from these people. I want you to go and deal with all the people he played with, because he played with everybody. He actually. So here's a great story. He was, and I'll let him. If you guys get a chance to get him on, he's fantastic. He's got stories that just
we'll work on that one next.
Yeah, set us up with him. Yeah,
I will. So he actually was punched by I think one of the All-Americans on live TV in the Skyball event. Yeah, so he's got stories. They're fantastic. But yeah, get up there, pull these stories out, because there's all these great little chunks of history we have in the sport, and you can build it and get a feel for it just by talking to some of these people. And it's just amazing. They actually put you hear a rumor, or you hear a little thing like, oh no, this person sued me, or I spent that much money trying to beat that lawsuit, and you hear from both sides, like, wow, it makes it very real.
Yeah, no, we want to share stories. Like one of the things we talk about all the time is like there's a lot of older guys in the game that are not going to be playing forever. Like teammates of mine are like Rosie and Mooner, because I'm in the Ground Zero camp, and I get to play with them right now. But I mean, those dudes are not going to be playing forever. So before they stop playing, we got to get them on here and tell all those old school stories, man, about how they used to beat up on guys in the woods.
Well, look, imagine if you had a chance to get some good interviews with Tim before we were passed.
I know.
It
literally hit me. We did like a little 10-minute thing, like literally the day it happened, just to like say something about it. And as we're talking about it, it like dawned on me. I was like, yeah, man, fuck Tim. We're never going to have Tim on this show. Wow. It's still not really processed. That whole thing is still crazy. I mean, if you want to say something what Tim meant to you, I mean, Tim meant so much to us. I mean, the Iron City Classic.
I never got a chance to interact with him, but I always heard about him. It's like, oh yeah, the guy who runs, this and this and this, and you hear him, and you like, oh, he's got this persona in your life and your background. And you're like, oh well, fuck, I'll never meet him.
Yeah, I was lucky enough a handful of times just because of Will Arroyo. They're good buddies, and so anytime I was standing next to Will, Tim would come up. So I got to have lucky enough to have a couple conversations with him.
Yeah, we were looking at going to ICC because we're really on the edge of getting something mechanical out that we're comfortable with to go take there. And we're like, yes, we can go. And then, we wouldn't get a chance. David knew him. We were going to meet him. We're going to hang out with him and a bunch of other people we knew. And it just, nope, it's not going to happen now.
Yeah, wow, so crazy. So, do you guys have a mechanical gun? Are you thinking about going to the ICC? What's going on?
Yeah, we still got the mule, but what we found is the trigger action on the mule. Actually, this is a very good segue. The trigger action on the mule and the trigger action on the torque, because I have a full mechanical torque here. that runs pretty good. I took it out actually. If any of you saw me at Folded Gap running around with that gold gun,
Okay.
that was a mechanical torque. And I was stuck on NATO in the when we were on the Connaxes, and we just got our backside handed to us. We could go. We were just eaten alive. And my rotor was down even, so I had to like repair my rotor in the middle of just getting eaten up. And I didn't break any paint, so I was very happy about that. I walked off the field like, yeah, I got shot a lot of times. The rotor broke, but I didn't break any paint, so I was very tickled with that.
Yeah.
The problem with the way the system works in my mechanical operation is, and the trigger pull was as light as any electro. It was just click, 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 click. But there's a problem with when you let go and when the whole system needs to recharge. And so this is part of the reason I actually wanted to chat on the podcast. Sadly, I wish this was coming out tonight because what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, the next day, is I'm going to talk about the patent I filed. I just filed the patent for it's a feedback mechanism for pneumatic launchers. Now, the fun part about that is it's a feedback circuit to allow any mechanical gun or any electronic gun, probably almost every one that's electronic right now in a single solenoid arrangement, would be able to be made electronic or mechanical. Take, for example, a gun that would be kind of difficult would be like a SFT shocker. Mm-hmm. You know how critical those were to time and related. So what happens is in the patent, it describes it as if you pull the trigger mechanism, and the trigger mechanism transfers to an input mechanism that goes to a switching mechanism. That switching mechanism would just be a three-way type switch. Mm-hmm. And the trigger mechanism would be just like a little, kind of like a fixed volume switch. It transfers a set of power up to the switch, the three-way switch, which would switch it back to fire. Now, as it fires, the bolt goes forward, and you get various little signal pulses from different areas you can tap from. So you can tap some from the breech, or you can tap some from when the valve pressure goes down, or you can tap something from when the chamber pressure in front of the bolt goes down. Set up one of those feedback inputs, and that switches the switching three-way mechanism to close by defeating the signal from the trigger. Okay. Now, that may require a lot more explaining than that. And it's clear in the patent. You guys have questions, please, I will answer them. But the whole system allows almost any gun to use a feedback circuit to be mechanical. And that means you can pull that trigger. If you pull that trigger, it times itself mechanically. And it's similar to like a pulse valve would be set every cycle. If you set something up to be breech sensing, it would shut the valve off every time it notices a signal from the breech. And you could retard the signal with some adjustments, or you can take it out of the valve. If the valve chamber, you need one, the valve chamber drops to a certain pressure and then the whole system turns off, it would do that also. So the whole component basically means you can just rail on that trigger, and if the gun takes 20 milliseconds to fire, that's how much it takes to fire. It'll do that every time. If it's has FSDO, it'll take 24 milliseconds, get the breech input, and then it'll turn the circuit off and reset and recharge. In the torque when I was running it, I couldn't get over like 8 to 10 balls per second before I started seeing drop off. And I know a couple other people who've got guns in process that have some of those same issues. With this patent, I cover this huge wide band of other guns that wouldn't work. Another example is like a phaser. Phasers would be really cool to make mech. I don't know why people haven't made a huge effort to make some mech phasers. Because they're really good, they're really simple, they'd be great mechanical guns if they're mechanical, just reliable. I really like shooting a phaser. But if you put a lever in there, so when the hammer comes all the way forward, trips that hammer down, that would turn off the cycle that you have pushing the hammer forward. That whole system can be a locked set system and timed, so no matter how fast you pull that trigger, the whole gun has done its cycle, come back. Those cycle at something like 25 to 30 milliseconds. And so you just be pulling that trigger as fast as you could. You went out to run the phaser. They probably need a faster hopper. But if your finger can do it, and if you were good at old mech cockers or mags or anything else like that, you'd be able to make those guns sing. And it'd be pretty easy to design into a gun. It'd be harder to retrofit. Now, if you have like an existing gun, like a shocker SFT, you're probably going to have to figure out where a good input point is and do upgrades and stuff like that. But this allows almost everybody to run a mech gun with their design.
So this is going to be like a drop-in kit type of deal?
Well, the patent is broad. It's going to cover
Okay.
a lot. We're not going to be able to come up with an answer for everybody. We can probably do a kit that can be a universal kit. But, I was talking to David, I don't want to do what other companies did when they got a patent and they kept everybody else from designing it.
Mm-hmm.
What I really want to do is come up with a patent and help other people get on the market. So we're working with somebody else right now on their gun design. And in their example, there's no licensing fees, but we're doing the machining for their gun. We roll that in.
Okay.
So we're gonna build their guns, and we're going to use our switch inside their gun. And we don't need a fee from that. We got the business from you from the side. We're good. If you're a small guy and you're doing stuff in your shop and building a few guns, I mean, kick my guys some beer money. That's fine. I'm not looking to make $1 million off of it. It's not $1 million idea. I don't want to strangle the market. I actually want to do the opposite. I want to give you an opportunity to do something really cool and mech with your gun, and we'll make it work in the licensing later. If I pay off the patent and make again some beer money after that, I'm good. I'm not trying to corner it. I'm trying to help the market get more mech options.
No, that's awesome. So it's going to be able to retrofit like any electronic gun? Or are you going to say for specific?
So it could be applied to any existing gun. So if you were a tinker and somebody comes up with a universal kit that takes an input and does a 3-way switch and then takes an output, and it'd just be one little block with two spools in it. That's all it needs to be.
Right.
And then with a feedback line, you'll be able to put that in. So somebody can make the block. I'll give you the CAD for the block if it's something you want to do and sell and put in the market. And then we'll play around with the shocker. I got an old SFT. We'll put a couple holes in it and we'll see what gives it a really good signal and times it really well. And then go right ahead. If you want to manufacture it, like I said, we'll figure out. I'll give you the CAD. We'll help you get going. And if you do really well with it, buy us some beers.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm super intrigued. I'm definitely gonna have to try and pick one of these up when these things are available.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something we can do really fast right now, but that's part of the reason we give other people the CAD, and we're putting it in a couple guns, so you'll see how the component works. And right now, I don't know if that's going to be how we run the torque, or we're working on one that does the feedback. But the problem with the feedback is I can't retrofit it to the existing guns without drilling a hole in the gun.
Right.
And I want to see durability of the feedback system in our gun. I haven't done a full durability test on it yet. If not, I'll put a pulse valve in the torque. And a lot of people are excited about the mech torques. So we're definitely doing a pulse valve, and we're doing a single finger trigger, so you can do tournaments with it also. But the single finger will take our existing grip frames and we'll take our existing boards. So if you want to retrofit and have a single finger electro, it'll work too. It's just buy the electro kit. Just like you would, just like I'll probably have a little set, be X amount of dollars online.
Right.
So if you buy the mech and you buy the electro kit, it might be $25 more than buying just the gun, full electric.
Right.
So.
And would that be like a whole other trigger frame? Or like you said, it would just be like a board and like a trigger shoe.
So if you bought a single finger trigger frame and it was mech and you wanted to turn it into a electronic, it'd just be the guts. You wouldn't need to change out the frame. You wouldn't need to change out anything. You can just take out one part, put in the next.
That's pretty cool. That's sweet.
Now, do you have any single trigger frames there yet, or that's something that's coming out down the line?
So it's all in CAD right now.
Okay.
We're waiting on the mill to come in, and we're just getting a little dumpy mill right now to get things by. But we've got we're sitting on about 40 electro guns right now in the shop that we're building up. We're doing the Stormtrooper look and a couple other stuff we're playing around with. And then after that, I've got about 100 bodies that were from the previous run. And we're going to start slapping grip frames on those 100 guns. And if people want mech, or if people want electro, or if people want single finger, we'll build whatever you want. We should have all three ready here soon. And then
So what are the pricing options on those 3 different levels?
Oh boy, I have a good idea.
Okay.
We're going to aim somewhere for about 900 for the electro. That's where I want to be. That's where I think we're pretty competitive at that level, because we do some really crazy stuff. Like we've got the sci-fi board in there, so you tune the whole gun through your phone. And I don't know if you've played with it. Have either of you played with that or seen that?
I haven't played with the sci-fi board.
It's so nice. You just basically push the button in the grip frame, turn on your phone, go, oh yeah, go in there. There's all the settings you want. Oh, I want 18 balls a second in XL. Beep, 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 boop. Honestly, it takes you about 20 seconds to program whatever you want in your gun.
Wow.
And yeah, and if you want to change, some of the settings like dwell and other stuff like that, it's all right there. It's really, really great interface to use. But also the fun secondary part is we have a Hall effect timing sensor in our gun. Our system runs a little differently, so we use this Hall effect timing system to effectively self-time the gun, so there's no FSDO, and that still works with the sci-fi board. So well, that's kind of that's where self-timing is kind of a thing we like doing. But so selling that for $900, full gun, electro, everything as we've been doing it so far. And then what we'll probably do is we'll probably come up with the package kit for the board and the eye board and the wire and the valve and all that will probably be something like $200. And so we'll just sell the mech gun for $200 cheaper, maybe $225, whatever we're charging for the mech module to do the switch. So it'd just be the same price either way. So there's no real price penalty. If you want to buy the electro and a mech kit, and you want to buy the mech grip frame with the single finger trigger, and then buy the electro components later, it should all be the same price.
So it's all going to be the same. It's all going to be the Torque platform right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a lot of other platforms planned. What we may do is we may do a very simple milled body because we have our own machines, and the Torque body is really cool and very, very light, but it's also a little more expensive to mill because of how I contoured it. Because I just didn't CAD. I wasn't doing CAM work. And so we're going to work with the machinist, and we're coming with some simple bodies that might be a little cheaper. But we're also talking possibly doing, I don't know how much I should talk about this, possibly doing one that's a full mech, a little dumbed down. Basically, we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. We're going to do a mule. And it's going to be simpler body and otherwise. And, that's a ways off. I don't know how far that is off. But it's something we've talked about is maybe doing a real basic mech version.
Like a mid-range? What are you saying? Like a mid-range, like a $500 one? Or are we talking like super low, like EMAC level, like 250?
I can't afford to do a super cheap one yet.
Yeah, gotcha. I hear you. I hear you, dude. So that's why so mid-range.
So here's part of the story of the Torque. Years ago, when I first came with the patent, I was actually going to just sell the Torque outright. I came up with the idea, got the patent. I was like, I'm going to sell the Torque patent. And I'm going to sell royalties, and I'm just going to go and make the Shiva. The first one I talked about, I did I think I came up with that design in '87. And I was really,
the year I was born. Wow, holy smokes!
Yeah, and talk about time taking too long to get around to doing something. And so I was trying to sell it, and I was trying to sell it to National Paintball Supply at the time, and they said, well, we're really involved in this one project. We can do this. We knew we could get the price down to about that of a Spider. But we would have been really trying to compete with the Ion. Mm-hmm. And that's what we were kind of going for, just slightly cheaper than the Ion version of it. So I'd love to put it out, but I couldn't do it myself. I was going to go through MPS. And the kicker in all of that was we looked at the royalties and we only pay a certain percentage in royalties. And it was a pretty decent percent. The problem was they're already paying a majority of those royalties to Smart Parts for the electro patent. And I was like, I would have made so little money. Even if they sold 100,000, I wouldn't have made very much money. Mm-hmm. But the worst part was Smart Parts would have made 150% of what I made on my own design.
Jeez.
It was just like, do I want to do it on my own? Do I not want to do it on my own? And I ended up doing it on my own. I don't know if that was the best choice or not. Believe me, there's plenty of times I kick myself for doing that, but it is what it is.
No, I actually think it was the right decision because, I mean, we talk about this with this podcast too about people trying to buy us out, right? And it's like, you know what, dude, we'd rather just own this and do it ourselves. Even if someone did offer us whatever, pay us $100,000 a year to do a podcast, but to buy it's like, nah, man, we'd rather just not have a boss and do what we want.
Well, have you seen the Joe Rogan argument on this?
Oh yeah,
that's what I think. That's what he was ripping straight off of the Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
because in the end, they'll I'll pay you this, I'll give this, and they make 90%, you make 10.
Right.
and it's better to own a lot of a little thing, 100%, and have it be yours and be your own thing. And in the end, I'm in the same boat now. Though I'm not too sure if I'm happy with all the shackles that come along with it. But it is mine. Win or fail, sink or swim. It is mine, and I did something unique and different. And I like how much a lot of stuff we did like 7 years ago. Like we planned this to be mech. We did the bigger trigger grip trigger frame. I wasn't the first guy who was helping me do some of the design work. PG, he did the big trigger guard in there. I was like, I'm not too sure about it. Okay, we'll do it. And now we see bigger trigger frames in a lot of other guns. The way we ran the reg and the airline, I could name off, how many other guns have that exact same thing. You open up a Planet gun, you're like, that looks familiar.
Right.
Reg right there, straight into a line that goes straight up into the valve. There we go. We did it. Yep. We nailed it. Our detents, I'm very happy about our detents. They're fantastic detents. Let's see what else. I like how light it turned out. It's a really light gun. And that wasn't deliberate. It's just one of those little accidents of it. I like the spacing we did up here with the foregrip and where you put your hand. I dropped this component down a bit because you're going to angle your hand in here more. I might drop it down some more and a little insert you can put in there and start playing with the ergonomics. We did a lot of things that were kind of firsts, and I like that. The Hall effect timing sensor built in, and the whole package. It's not perfect. It has flaws. It's a 7-year-old design, but it's not too bad looking. I mean, this thing's
no, it looks crisp. It
looks nice.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. I took a lot of styling details from the Egos. I'm a big fan of the Ego, but I didn't like how tight the grip frame was to the foregrip. And I watched a lot of people complain about that with the Axe and the Mini, so I just
man, I like that longer reach on it a little bit,
Me too. I got big old monkey hands, man.
Yeah, and we did one thing too where we made the whole front end smooth, and I looked at the angle. You look at the angle inside of your hand, so I picked a radius that matches that on the inside right here. And then you reach up over the top. You can fit your hand around here. Just all these comfortable. And I guess people were doing this thing for a while. But this is all grippy, and just you can really get your hand in there, and you can fit. And I remember when this came out, the LV1 had the different arc to it,
right?
And it came in like this, and we like, oh, this one's the smoothie one. But also, Dye had a gun that came out at the time, and there was just no space in between here, and people were taking off the grip cover. And since then, everybody stretched this out. Everybody's learned that this is the right ergonomic style. So I feel good we were there in the beginning with a lot of that. I'm pretty happy with where we ended up.
That's like the Axe, like pretty much right after it came out, they came out with those extenders for it to increase that length.
But remember when the Axe came out, the tiny little Mini and the Axe, I mean, that was so tricky to have a gun that small. And the Axe is one of my favorite guns. Not from because I've seen the original King Cobra. That thing is atrocious. But if you look at how well that's designed, how much that took the King Cobra concept and refined it into something that is just, it's one of those things where when you start designing work and you get in there, you're like, every little cut, how they ran the air, all the little tricks they did in there. It's been refined to a point of art. It's like the CSL. Yeah. CSL is probably one of my favorite guns because you won't know it, but when we take that gun apart, you realize they milled out the back of the trigger to lose weight. Yeah, you wouldn't know it unless you actually took the whole thing apart. You wouldn't know half the stuff they did until you take it apart and you're like, oh, that was really smart. That was really clever. And they did a lot of that. And they go, so those are my two favorite guns, actually, just because of the amount of design work that went into them. You can see it if you get the chance to spend a year designing a gun and going into every single little detail and just debate if you're doing the right thing. And then you pick up one of these and you're like, oh, that was really good. That's just beautiful. So,
you're like, oh, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, no, you do. It gives you a lot of inspiration. Those two guns are really fantastic. You're a gun designer geek like I am. Definitely take those guns apart. They're fantastic.
Yeah, one of my first I think my mom bought me a gun when I started playing was an Axe, and that thing never broke. That thing always worked.
Oh yeah. No, it really, and I hear it's one of the things that kind of killed me is like one of the things that we did in the original Torx is we ran them in some really cold weather, we ran some really hot weather, and we found out some of the issues like with like our tolerance fits on the bolt and stuff like that. But Simon has a story, and it's his to tell, but about changing tolerances and having sent out the accent for testing and it didn't work. It was a difference of 5,000. Just a few thousandths, and that's it. From unreliable in some conditions to 100% reliable and everything else. And when you think that in one of these guns, there's probably several hundred dimensions like that you have to get right.
Yeah.
And we dropped the ball. We got a few wrong, but we only got a few wrong.
Perfect.
No, Simon, I would say he's probably closest to perfect we have in this industry, but he's a hard person to follow. But
yeah, he really is.
Yeah, but when it comes down to it, we came close, and now that we have control of our own machines, we should be able to come a little closer.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
go all done.
Sorry, man. No, I'm saying so now that we have you on and everything like this. So it sounds like this gun's gone through some iterations. You got some stuff in the pipe. So because someone messaged me that you guys were looking kind of to get some word out there. I know you said you're going to be releasing some stuff about the patent and everything like that. So is this kind of because I'll be honest with you, I remember when I first saw it, I was like, I don't remember this. I'm J4 Paintball. And then I was like, now that you're talking about it, things are starting to kind of like fuses are starting to go off. Things are starting to. Yeah. So were you guys
in the back?
You guys were dormant for a bit, or?
Yeah, just for basically lack of funding. I mean, when it comes to fixing the gun, a lot of times we just we like the rear guide. The ASA that came with it we always turn the ASA on a certain way and turn it off a certain way. We never had a problem. But if you turned it on and off, you sliced an O-ring every time consistently. And so little things like that we didn't notice in months of testing that we had to come up with. When we're trying to get that part made, it's this big, and it needs an air part about that big, and that's $3,000 to $5,000. So you're spending, I had a bunch of these little parts made. It cost me $1,700 to get these little parts made. Now, some people really helped us out. Andy, YDNA, always helped us out, always gave us great rates. But if you're trying to go through a traditional machine shop to get stuff made, it's very expensive. So sometimes we go 6 months before I had, here's $5,000 spare to make a new part, to do another run of parts. When we did the boards, when we did the first set of boards, we went to the same guy and said, fix these problems. He fixed the problems, but he put other problems in, and those boards mostly died. Out of all the circuit boards, I think we're looking at about a 20% survival rate that came back to the shop. So that out of 2 runs. So those runs cost, I think we spent a little over $12,000 on boards, and those were all bad. We all had to replace. We switched to the sci-fi board, and still, that's several grand out of my back pocket to get enough boards just to fix the ones that were broken from before and to make improvements. So there's a lot of money that goes out because I'm always dealing with everything I did in the past I've got to fix and everything. So we just kind of slowed down. We basically hit a big stop. We put some guns out here and there throughout the years, but it really was, like one year we put out a dozen. Next year we won't put out any. We just repair stuff. So, it just was kind of hit and miss. So we had a lot of times where it was just nothing, just me answering problems online and trying to come up with solutions. And as much as I could originally when I designed it, I made sure all the O-rings were ones you could find online. So there's no gasket seals and that are unique or special. Everything is a standard screw you can find somewhere. So it wasn't too hard to fix and repair, but I still, we still took care of stuff as it came in and helped everybody out online as we could. And we dropped the ball in some cases. We couldn't solve some problems because we just couldn't make a new part.
Yeah. But it sounds like you guys take care of your customers. Sometimes it's not about how you drop the ball, but how you pick it back up. And it seems like you guys seem to do a good job when you pick it back up.
I would say we've done an okay job. I would like to have done better, but a lot of it came down to, I'm working 60 hours this week. My kids want me. My wife has some plan for the weekend. I'm not going to be able to get that out tomorrow. It's just not going to happen.
There's only so much time in the day, man.
Yeah. But and in fact, it's crazy that I'm actually really happy to be getting stuff out now. Last month and a half, almost 2 months straight, I've been working 50 to 60 hours a week in this warehouse while trying to at the day job. And it's it's been like 90 degrees in there, 95 degrees in this warehouse where we're putting together a new plant, and I'm doing all the last checkout technician work for a huge $11 million plant that deals with aluminum. And then I come home just sweaty and gross and everything else, and steel-toed boots, and pop off my hard hat and my safety gear, and then I'd walk right into the shop and work till 10 o'clock at night. And luckily, hey, do what you gotta do, just get it done. Luckily, my wife has been very gracious this time as I've gone back into starting the business, and we have a couple kids out of the house, so it's a little easier. But we've been getting stuff out. We've dropped the ball here and there a little bit, but it's only been hopefully about a week. And then we get something figured out, get a guy's gun out, and it's going back out. I'm looking at my shelf right now. I got something to get tomorrow at FX. I have 3 guns I'm shipping out today, and that's it. I don't have anything else on my plate. It's a really good feeling.
It probably feels nice, right?
Oh man, it feels really good. I've got a stack. I've got like this. I'm looking at it right now. I've got shelves that are half full of done guns ready to ship. That's nice. A really good feeling. And then we've got these tomorrow we start building these up and giving some people some more of the Stormtrooper look. And this is a hard anodizing to do. You can't actually anodize white.
I know, because I asked and they said no.
Yeah, and the answer is no. This isn't white. What we did is we sandblasted all these bodies ourselves with a certain grain. We worked with the anodizer and got an etch just right. And so this is an etched clear body. But
that's so cool.
But
it looks white.
It looks white.
Now that's white to me, man. That's white to me.
Yeah, it looks white. Now here's I brought stuff. So here's a straight sandblasted body that we're going to send there for the ano. And so all we're doing really is just a sandblasted body. We're doing an etch and then a clear on top of that. That's it. So it looks good, but I'll show you this here. We're doing long-term stain testing right now on one of the bodies to see if we can get any paint to get in there. And of course, as this is just dipped into our catch container, and, it's a mess. So we'll let you know how that goes. But that's our long-term. We can paint, see if we can get any staining on it.
Now, that white is awesome because I have a Ripper that I got anode. And I've never had a gun anode before. It's like, oh, what colors you want? I'm like, black and white. He's like, bro, white's not a color on the spectrum. I can't do white. I was like, well, now I honestly don't even care. I really don't.
And
do whatever, guy.
So part of it is don't let me talk down to you here. I'm just explaining it to explain it. When anodizing happens, it builds this kind of hexagon type structure on the surface of aluminum oxide, which is basically what rubies are, right? Rubies are anodizing, but they have a little bit of chemical in there and makes them red. Same with an emerald, makes it green.
Right.
All the paintball we do is we just stuff that full of dye, we boil it, and that seals the surface, and then the dye stays in those. The problem with the hexagon is the parts that are white, the pieces of dye that are white, can't fit in the hexagon. They're too big.
Okay.
And it's just normally it's a titanium dioxide white or something like that, and it just physically is too large to fit in the pores and stay there as dye.
Okay. That
so
makes sense.
Really, yeah. So it's just one of the things. They don't make a fine enough dye. They don't make anything that really can go in there and do it. So we're totally cheating, and it's just because we anodized, and it's just because we etched the body. And it's just because we sandblasted it in a certain way that allows the etch to really look white.
Yeah, right. He just gave me the short version. He just said no.
I mean, we stuck it on our sign back here. We want to be tech. We want to talk about the tech. Instead of saying no, I want to say, here's why. Here's the understanding. Here's this. So here's what we can play around with. And here's how we can totally cheat it and come up with something that looks really white. And that's all we're doing. We're not doing anything magical. It just
no, but you're doing
Seems
something
like
different.
magic, bro, to me.
Yes.
I'm cool with that. I'm not. I mean, I'm not as you know, dude. The thing works and it shoots. It looks good. Man, I'm cool with it, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
I am learning a lot, man. Don't get me wrong, man. You know, and I'm glad we got a little bit into that, you know, smart parts patent thing. You know, go a little bit on the old school on that. But dude, yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I think it's sick. You know what I mean? You don't see too many white or white looking. It's white, dude. It's white.
Yeah. We're calling it the Stormtrooper. We're going to explain that it's not really white anodizing. And because it's an etch and it's a clear etch, you're going to have to do things like we found that if you give it a bath of WD-40 to clean it up, you can get almost anything out of it. So that's little things that because like I said, see, it's the tech side of it. We want people to understand the tech. So because it's a white and it's an etch and it's going to be a matte surface, you know, you get paint there. You can wash out paint from almost everything. And we're just washing these test bodies, like when I showed you, the one that's all gooped up, we dipped in our catch bucket. The surface, you know, but if you use a little bit of WD-40, you can get most everything out of there. So that's just, you know, how you're going to have to deal with it. But we want people to know that before they pick it up, instead of just going, oh, hey, it's white. And then, you know, have them come down the line later and go, oh, wait, we're having a problem with it.
Yeah, you got it in the paintball world, man. You got to, like, you know, put that explicit. It's not pure white.
You got to explain the tech. I mean, it's like the I had a guy tell me, hey, you should put seal forward technology in your paintball gun. And I said, what's seal forward technology? Do you know what it is? He goes, I just know it does this and this and this. I said, here, bring me your gun. I'll show you. You know that O-ring on the inside that the bolt went through? The one that always like would break paint if it was the wrong size or got old?
Right.
That's seal forward technology. They put the O-ring in the body instead of putting the O-ring on the bolt. Sealed when the bolt was forward. SFT, seal forward technology. That wasn't explained to anybody.
You're blowing my mind right here.
It sounds cool. Great marketing. It's really good marketing.
Yo, seal forward technology, man. Look at this thing. This thing.
It makes it shoot straighter, and that's what makes it shoot further, and that's what makes it do this and this and this. And it's just an O-ring in the breech instead of on the bolt. And you know, it's good. It's great marketing. But we want to be the tech side more than we want to be the marketing side. You know, it looks cool. It's great. I'm glad you guys think it's sexy. I mean, I think this thing looks so good in person. But, you know, you have to realize this is an etch finish. This is not perfectly white. This is going to be tough, but you're going to want to use something special to clean it. That's about it.
Hey, you got to use something special to clean it because it's a special gun, man. You don't see too many stormtroopers like that walking around.
No, these are going to be. I don't know how many we're going to do. We're going to see how the response is, but they look fantastic in person. They look really good. So, you know, we'll probably keep them on the docket for a while. We're going to start playing around with the colors. We're going to probably do some anodizing ourselves and play around with colors here on our own. Do some small kits. We're still small. We can do stuff like this and play around. We can do custom bodies if we want. It's not like I sat there and go, I need 1,000 Rand just like this, and I can't sell. If I don't sell 1,000 of this model, it doesn't make a profit for us. I can go, hey Jason, you know, next week let's do that flag one we wanted to do for Wounded Warriors. He's like, yeah, I got the CAD for that. Let's do like 50, you know, and we can do that. Yeah. We still have that flexibility. I don't think we ever really want to lose that. We may grow out of that. Let's be honest. You know, 10 years down the line, you know, we could be one of the major manufacturers, but it's not something and it's not like we're really trying to look at our business and go, how are we going to make the most profit? We just want to keep the business and say, how are we going to have the most fun? So,
yeah, for the players, man, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see if we pull it off. If I become too corporate, you guys can call me out. I give all of you free.
No, yeah, man. We'll be, dude, trust me.
You said you're gonna have fun.
We're gonna pull this up. We're gonna pull this up on a replay because we'll be here in 10 years from now. So we'll pull it up on a replay. Exactly. And we'll invite you back and we'll play it. We'll play it. We'll just be like, hey, Josh, remember when you said this? Look at
everything. You're like, yeah.
I'll be like, congrats at the same time.
You know what? If I get there, I look forward to being able to eat these words. I doubt I'll be able to. I mean, I'm going, okay, like the next 2 months, like we got to get it working. But if we're having this conversation in a year, and we're having this conversation in 10 years, that's awesome. I'd like to be there. I can't wait to see you guys there. That'd be fun. And where are you guys hitting any events this year?
Oh yeah. So
okay, so
I'll go. I guess I'll start. So I play on the Ground Zero amateur team. So on the docket for us this year are definitely ICC and the second ICPL. Other tournaments there's a lot still we're talking about. I guess I should actually kind of say this popping out because Will just posted. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make the squad, but we're going to be combining with the Massive Blasters to play the European Woods Ball World Cup.
Oh, really?
So that's on the docket. And then as far as other stuff, Waldo and I are big game guys. So there's Cousins Big Game on Long Island, which we'll definitely be at. There's Living Dead, which we'll definitely be at.
I really want to get to Cousins. I really want to get to the Cousins events. And David's actually from New Jersey. He actually had a field and like 3 stores in the New Jersey area, and did a lot of stuff in that area. So he had one of the first indoor fields in the area up there. So
we're gonna have to have David on, man. What's David's name?
David Bildoff. I'll link you guys on there, guy. He is a character. Man, he is fantastic. He is just one of the. He's one of the. You haven't heard of him as much as you'd hear some of the other ones, but he ran like it was at Atlanta Drive. I think I got his jersey up here. He had an ion body. He had Bushmasters, little Bushmaster custom line. He had like 25 of them made. He's played with half a dozen big teams. He's turned down. He knows everybody. He knows Rocky Caglione. He knows Alan Greenspan. He knows all these guys. At one point in time, he actually Greenspan sent him a jersey. Said, "I want to come work for you." So he's a character. You'll have to have him on. He's a lot of fun. David Veldoff, and I'll give you his info. He's got so many good classic old school stories that just blow your mind. He was there.
I'm
actually.
sure he knows our guys. I'm saying he knows a bunch of like the guys that we play with. The Master Blast has been around since paintball been invented. So I'm sure this guy, if he's from New Jersey area, I'll probably bring his name up in practice, and everybody will be, that guy's alive, or something like that. I feel like that's what they always say.
Might be the most one. Like nobody's killed him yet. No, he's a really, really good guy. He's solid all the way across the board, and just he's got some good stories.
So, man, if you come out, Cousins, Long Island, we both live on Long Island or anything like that. If you come out this way, we'll definitely link up. We'll definitely show you a good time and everything like that.
We'll bring you some guns. We'll let you guys rent some kit, and then we'll run around. And then I'm on the East Coast now. I used to like I said, live in Alaska, lived in Washington State, lived in Texas, and now I'm over here in Tennessee. Everything's a day away from Tennessee. Half the U.S. is a day away from Tennessee. It's such a great location.
Yeah, and, wow. I didn't realize you were that close. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, no, I can be in New York in 12 hours.
Cool. Yes.
There we go, man.
I feel like we should know the date, but I think Cousins' big game is September 20-something.
Okay.
It's September 20-something, or maybe the 5th. It's the middle. It's the middle or the end of September. I know that for sure. And then kind of going back on what he was saying as far as like what we're attending. I know he kind of told you on his plans. I think that Woods Ball World Cup thing. What's that? That's next year, though, right? The European one.
I gotta look. Will just
it's next year. I know it's next year.
Next year? It's next year.
Yeah,
that perfect. European that gives me time to save some money.
Dude, save it up, dude. Those ones are a blast. You know what I mean? I didn't go to England to play, but I played in Ecuador, some Woods Ball in Ecuador, Costa Rica, and Cancun, Mexico, and those were a blast. But
I did go there. Did go over to England a couple times, and went out to a couple events. Great guys to play with out there. Absolute characters. I did one up by Manchester, and I've never heard people playing paintball always have a hard grasp of the English language. When you're up in Manchester, they are chewing the words. You don't understand them half the time, but they're having so much fun.
Yeah.
So, the UK guys, they're great. I can't wait to get back over there. I want to do a lot again. Doing this partially just so I can get an excuse, just like you guys, to go out there and play and hit these places and just see all the things that I read about, for 20 years. 20, boy, yeah, right. Almost 30 years.
Yeah. So, do you think about maybe doing a booth at ICC to display some of your stuff? Have you thought about that? Maybe.
I'm not going to be this year. No. This year, I'm not going to be far enough along. I just want to get a gun up there and let it run around and play around, and maybe let some people play with it and give us some feedback. If we
you don't got a team, I got a team. I'll play with it.
We've actually, we got the
dude. Somebody will pick me up, man.
I know, yeah. Just like last year.
Yeah, if not, but next year the plan is to get most of the mech events we can in, because like I said, I've got a whole patent on a new way of doing mechs.
Yeah.
I love the mech concept. I love the mech play. I'm an old school player. I still play like this half the time with my middle finger, on
Yeah, me
like
too.
that's how I did my mag, because we cut the trigger guard off and ran the double finger trigger and ran the big coiled hose up at the top and run around with a big 14-inch barrel on the mag and thought we were something. And that's still how I play. That's why I don't play tournaments, because I'm old.
Dude, that's why the 10-man mech would be good for you, dude. You know what I mean?
Perfect, man. That's exactly my format right there. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun when we get around to it. It's going to be good times.
Yeah, man. So I really only have one more question left. I want to know what the paint was like in Alaska. Did you guys have to use like the super special freeze paint?
So most of the time it's above freezing, like almost half the year. But for a while there, PMI made polar ice. And I don't know if you guys are familiar, heard of. Okay, so polar ice.
Yeah.
Polar ice was fantastic in the winter. And when we switched to HPA, because for a while a lot of us still ran CO2. And if you had something like a Titman, we just ran siphon tanks, and it was fine. The guns worked. And we've taken polar ice. I think our record was 17 below.
Dude.
17 below. Yeah. No, we played a couple games, and then as we were driving through town, it had dropped to negative 22.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was just insanely stupid to play. But it's actually kind of nice because it was really dry. So the you didn't get really wet. All the snow was dry. And so you run through the snow and it's dry. It's not bad. Most of it had a good sheen of snow and everything. And the guns, we switched to HPA at one point in time. And actually even nitrogen, just ran straight nitrogen. And that shot so well with polar ice and a decent barrel in cold weather. It was almost, with HPA, it was better than summertime CO2. It was just fantastic. And so we just shot lasers. And I don't know if you ever saw the polar ice at the time, it was like bright yellow, like neon yellow or neon orange, just super, super bright. So you're playing an entire area with low light. It's just black and white. I mean, it just looks like you're playing in a black and white movie half the time. And you're running around, and there's these little yellow balls, pew, orange, pew. It was then you get hit, and it'd be like the only thing of color on you, because everything else is black and white, because that's what you want to dress in, because you blend in. And so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And then you get done playing a game or two, and then you go hide in your car, warm everything up, warm yourself up, and yell at the other guy through the window, and then you hop back out of your car and go run around the game for 15 minutes or half an hour. It was stupid good times. And I was young.
Sounds like I'm shivering, but like it sounds like a blast. And honestly, I feel like the paint was better back then too.
Oh, there was a lot of good paint back then. And one thing that I like, though, I was going to say about the snow, is the fun part is if there's good snow on the trees, you'd shoot the tree above the guy, and all the snow would
come down.
It was really, really good tactic. Can't do that so much.
I would do just to get him wet. Fuck them.
Oh yeah, well, you can move, you can shoot him. You just, but we always shot each other's trees up. It was just stupid. It was just too much fun.
That's too funny. Walter, you got any more questions?
Nah, man. I mean, honestly, dude, it was great to have you. We could hang out a little bit afterwards, but definitely, where can people reach you? How can they get in touch with you? And anybody you want to thank, anybody that's helped you along the way, or anybody you want to plug or anything like that.
Oh boy, let's see. A lot of people, I have to say, just so many. The list would actually be almost everybody in the industry. There's been so many people that are so cool, and just people who give us feedback, people we chat with all the time. And encouragement from people like Simon and stuff like that. And I've known Simon back from the War Pig days, back when we were chatting on Pig Chat, way back when. Still keep in touch with them, still see him at an event there. There'll be Simon. You just, hey Josh, hey Simon, just so many people like that you run into. Boy, through it all, just all the people who just keep in touch with us. Just been great all the way through. We had a lot of help from people like Exalt too. The guys from Exalt were really awesome. Got a lot of our rubber parts from them. And down through after that, so you get a hold of us, j4pb.com, www. We're active on Facebook. That's our only real main social media interaction, but we are very active on Facebook. I think we've had like a post almost every.
Travis, can you put that below so people can see?
Yep, j4paintball.com. And then we have a couple of videos up and some of the other stuff. We have a YouTube channel with guns, teardowns, tech. That's a real good place to see what's gone on with the gun, because I actually have, like, I go into the entire regulator system of the gun, tear apart the whole ASA, tear apart the whole bolt system, the switch system. I go over the tech of the gun, some of the stuff we have in it. I actually have a large volume of information there for anybody who's really curious about the gun. And then a few shooting videos and some other stuff. We're going to be putting up some more content. We're going hopefully out this weekend or next. We're going to go out, so we'll get some video for you guys there. Then on top of that, we have that's probably you can always write me or David. Luckily, it's Josh at j4pb.com, David at j4pb.com. David's for all your sales. If your teams want interested in teams and stuff like that. I'm basically the head or the tech, and I cover most of the stuff that comes through. Or just get a hold of us through Facebook. We really just use that as our main one-stop shop media platform. So if you have any questions, just pop it online. If you reply to any of our areas, we see all of that, and we go from there. We're pretty accessible. We try to get back to you within an hour or two, unless we're sleeping or something like that. And we, I mean, sometimes I've answered stuff at like 10 o'clock at night, like, yeah, I'm just bored. Yeah, no, well, here, I'll help you rebuild your regulator. Do this and this and this. And I'll answer stuff like that. So we're pretty accessible. It's not, if we grow too big, it won't be that way. I'll probably have some text to answer some questions, I hope. And then beyond that,
more
I guess
sales rep, man.
What's that?
I said more sales reps, more text, more everything eventually down the line. But you know,
actually, right now I've got one guy teching. He's here every day. He's building most of the guns now. I've been training him up for the past 6-7 months. It's my buddy Josh. So I'm Josh. He's Josh. And everybody Josh occasionally comes in here and works. And then Josh wants to come down and work with us too. So we officially will be J4. And then there's Jason. He's the only not Josh that's at J4. And but you know, I've got one tech trained up. He's going to train a couple other people too. Josh is such a great guy. Let me put a little shout out to Josh. So Josh is a U.S. Marine Corps. He was a helicopter airframe tech. So everything on the frame, the avionics and all that, he took care of. And he just blew out his shoulders and his knee in the Corps. And so he's on disability. He's a sharp guy. He comes in here every day. He's like, man, that was the best day at work. I got to build this and this and this. And he just is so excited to be here every day building guns, even if he's a little frustrated at times. So he's in here. He's going to be running our techs all. Hopefully, in the next month or two, I'll be giving him an employee or two to boss around, and then we'll have our little tech core. I've got a couple other people out there like Brandon or David who I've trained up on there. They can do the basic tech and they're learning how everything's going. And we're getting a little more techs built up, and I've got a couple other people who want to come on up. So we'll probably have tech courses here in the near future. We just come in here for a weekend or something like that, and we'll just work on guns and shoot the shit and drink some beers and have a good time.
No, man, that's awesome, man. That's awesome that you're providing opportunity for that guy. And as someone that's got family members in the military, big shout outs to the military and everything like that. So that's awesome what you guys are doing over there at J4. I appreciate everything, man.
Yeah, that's something that for David and I, both of us, it's one of the things we said when we get to the point where we're actually able to give back to the community. One thing we really do want to do is help out the veterans and the related. That's kind of both of us was individually a big area we want to focus on, and it's something that we want to do in the future. So we've talked about it for 7 years, David and I. Let's do some guns that can help out the vets and stuff like that, the warriors and related. So we'll probably be doing that as soon as we can get things rolling and get some limited editions out there. Just 100% of that will go to the vets. So that's something that's just one of the places we feel like we'd help.
Awesome, Josh, guys. So again, that's Josh from J4 Paintball. Make sure you guys reach out to him. Tell him that you saw it here. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review. And I just want to give out a shout out. J4 Paintball, Josh, they sponsored the episode. We had Dizana Sports, makers of the Grind Air gloves and the SF joggers. Cousins Paintball with their 4 unique locations all over the tri-state area. So visit cousinspaintball.com. And our last one is show some love to Gianni, Scott, and James Belvedere at J_IANNI at Slump Life Co. and at James the Champion to get your knowledge up about cryptocurrency and the financial markets. They're ballers. they're balling out on another level, and they're just looking to give back to the community, guys. So thanks again. Subscribe, rate, and review, and just get out there and enjoy paintball, guys. Thank you.
Later.
I was going to say, thanks a lot. This was fun. I can't wait to do this again.